An area code 248 out of Michigan. It is Greg. Greg, you're with us. Can you hear us, my friend?
Yes, I can, Seth and Paul. Hey, I got to ask you,
Welcome.
Seth, real quick. Can you hear me?
I can. What's your question?
Hello? Oh, I just got to ask you real quick. Were you ever in radio? You
Oh,
got
yeah.
you got a great voice.
I did Christian radio for 12 years, 1990 to 2002. We played Amy Grant, Stephen Curtis Chapman, Michael W. Smith, Whiteheart, Third Day, etc. And so that was a big part of it was my first real career. So yeah, but thanks for noticing. Hopefully it's a good thing. A lot of people hate the cadence of my voice because they think I either sound like a preacher or I sound like AI. So I don't know how to
No,
receive.
no,
Okay.
you're fantastic. I'm known as Mr. Positive. I'm on Detroit radio, national radio, and TV with sometimes Chris Cuomo. But
Oh,
I like that you talk about politics too. But I got to ask you guys, and it's going to be a little bit nebulous, but I want to prove, not necessarily prove, trust me. I've read Rand and I've read so many philosophers and Aristotelian logic and logic by Platonism. But if you will, we talk about ideas. God is an idea, okay? We know that by definition, we predicate God's existence on faith, which is a negation of empirical evidence. But using nomenclature, can you, in the same vein, for instance, desk, table, chair is what? It's considered furniture. It's an abstraction. Could you arguably say that God exists in the realm of the totality of the conscious and unconscious mind and the unity of all people, and that's where God lies? Yes, I know your argument. I know Dillahunty's argument. I've read them all, heard them all, and all that stuff. Would you say that God is an idea that could arguably exist within the Platonist realm ideology, Seth and Paul?
I'm confused.
I know I'm drawing from existentialism, Rollo May, um, Platonism.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Um,
Well, if you want to reference all of these supposedly lofty ideas, wonderful. But let's distill it down and speak to me like you're
okay,
talking to a child. Okay? What is it that you
okay,
are saying would serve as a proof for God? I mean, I hear a shade of the ontological argument, but I don't think that's what the argument you're making. What are you saying
right.
it would be evidence for God?
The evidence would be in the same vein as ideas exist that cannot be contemplated materialistically. I can't touch it, I can't taste it, I can't see it, I can't feel it. It's in the ideological realm of Plato. Um, there's a big picture. Aristotle points to reality, and Plato points to the air. And I guess the two dynamics, materialism and ideology, can coexist and they're predicated upon each other. How do we become better? How do we understand things that we don't understand now? I guess, Seth, I'm just talking about ideas. Do ideas exist that we cannot prove? And do they? For instance, love. It does exist. It's not tangential. It's not materialistic. But does the word love and things that are abstractions or that we designate as emotion, do they exist? And I
All right,
guess
hang on.
in
Hang
the,
on. If I may, Greg,
okay, yes.
for the sake of momentum, Paul, did you have any thoughts on what we've heard so far?
I had questions, but I will let you speak
No,
because
no, no, no.
they're just follow-up questions.
I mean,
I mean, are
it,
you
mostly what I'm hearing, Paul, is if we can think shit up, does that validate it as something that may live in the immaterial world, including a god? If it is only in the
But
abstract, and
I'm not making it up. I'm not necessarily making it up. I'm giving you words that people understand as love,
Other people have
hope.
said, but I think I
Yeah.
disagree with the premise. Love is a great
Okay.
example. Love in the abstract, we understand. How do you prove love? Well, I'm one of those people that thinks actually you can see love demonstrated through word and action. So you can see if someone does or does not love someone else through the evidences of what they do and say. So I don't think things like love exist merely in the abstract, an immaterial box that then you can sort of navel gaze over. I think these are things that do manifest themselves in physical material ways in the real world. And so, and
Okay.
if we decide that we're going to lock the abstract idea in a different box over here, then you could say
Yeah.
anything or think anything about anyone, anywhere, and say it's proven because it's immaterial and it exists in our minds and thoughts, right?
Okay. But when you say that you can demonstrate love, could that be construed as possibly kindness? Could it be construed as something other than how you deem to be the definition of love?
I don't know that
And if so,
I don't know that
okay.
I see kindness is a subset of love. I mean, these two are joined. They are related in many ways. If not a direct love for a person, not necessarily a romantic love, maybe a love for the human condition, a love of the good. I don't know what any of this
So
has
you're
to do with
talking about
proving a
degrees.
Sure. I mean, we live in a world where things
Okay.
are relative. I may love this more than that. I may despise this more than that. I may have an attraction to this or a repulsion from that more than another. I don't know what any of this has to do with God. So tell me how any of it proves God, Greg.
It it doesn't, but there is no, this is between you and I and the thousands that are listening and watching. There is no concrete evidence to prove the existence of God. It's antithetical to what the concept of God is. Yes, I am probably an atheist, but I'm still searching, and I've read all the arguments. I've heard your beautiful arguments, Dillahunty's, Dawkins, it goes on, Bogosian, and it goes, I've heard them all. And I'm just
So
trying to broaden my horizons, and I wanted to broaden them with you because I know you're an intellectual, and I just
I'm
Greg,
feel
really
what,
that
not. No,
Greg, what's
I'm
the
really
point
not.
here?
Go ahead, Paul. Please hit it.
Greg, so
yes,
ultimately, all I'm hearing you is saying, so what? Like, so if you want to say that there can be an abstraction of a concept, and if you want to
yeah.
say that what God is God didn't create the universe, God didn't part the Red Sea, God doesn't care what I eat for dinner, God doesn't care who sleeps in my bed. But some subset of humans have an abstraction of this. Some set of humans have an abstraction that they think the Force is real. The Force is defined in Star Wars. It could be defined in exactly the same way that you're just describing. Like if you just want to say that some subset of people can agree on they don't even agree that there's an abstraction out there, and I just want to call that God and put my faith in it. So what? Like if it's not real, can't be proven, doesn't dictate anything about us. Is this just I talking, late night after a joint? What are we talking about here?
Well, because I know that you cannot prove and demonstrate evidence for God with the understanding and the caveat of what is the definition of proof and what is the definition of evidence. And it has to be, demonstrated materialistically, arguably, understanding with the concepts of mathematics, but that forego mathematics.
Disagree with
Um,
most of that, but keep rolling.
Yeah, me too. Me
yeah,
too.
I mean, it's just the
No, just
idea
keep
that,
rolling. Yep.
okay, um, I have nothing more to say. I feel that I just wanted to know your points of view. Like I said, I'm probably an atheist. I know the arguments, and I know it's such an uphill battle to prove the existence of God. What is the definition of existence? It's
Yeah.
the
Okay.
definition is
All
having an
right.
existence
Right. Fine.
within the realm of existence.
Hang on. I think Paul wants to speak to a little bit of this before we let you go. Go ahead.
Uh, I
Thank
just
you.
again, I'm back to what is the point? Do you think that this abstraction cares what you do in your life?
Um, Regardless, because it's an abstraction, I'm trying to define the best of anybody's ability to prove the existence of God through an abstraction. I cannot tell you if he cares about what I do, how I do it, whether he created the universe, the multiverses,
so this is
the
a
string
thought.
theory.
This is a thought project to entertain yourself. And the other weird thing that you said up front was that you called in. You said you already know what we think about this, which is the other thing I just wanted to cycle back to. It's like if you already know what Seth and I thought about this before you called in, what was the point? And I'm curious what you thought that we thought.
No, I know exactly where you're coming from. I just wanted to hear your perspective on a maybe different philosophical point of view, because I know that Seth and you and Matt demonstrate, show me proof, evidence,
Yeah.
and I know that it's impossible. And I'm telling everybody in the world that you cannot prove the existence of God because it is a dichotomy that
Okay.
you cannot prove.
But then what is the point? What's the point of trying to create useless descriptions that don't mean anything?
That's a good point. I don't necessarily know if it's useless, because by me inquiring and asking queries, I think we glean and we learn at a deeper level. That's how one learns. That's how we grow. When you and Seth have a disagreement, and anybody that you know, I've read the books, that how do you get to the truth? Everyone thinks they have the truth. Only through discussion and compromise and really vigorous debate will you get to the truth. And most people think that they know the truth.
So you called in for us to talk you out of this rather than to convince us?
No. I just wanted to know at least this philosophical question.
Okay.
You couldn't talk me out of it because I'm probably in agreement with you guys.
Okay.
I just wanted to hear your perspective
I stopped
on it.
caring a while back, Seth, so I'm going to let you take it back.
I'm good. Greg, thank you so much for the call, and have a wonderful week. Okay?
Thank you, and everybody go for your dreams. Thank you, guys.
All right. Yep. See you later. What the hell did we just talk about?
I don't know.
First of all, I'm so weary of people telling me that the nature of God makes him, her, or it unprovable materially. I just don't understand this argument. Beyond the trying to nail the jello against the wall, he was talking about mathematically and all these other things. And I'm like, well, a God, even let's call him an immaterial deity that interacts with the physical world, then it still becomes a scientific question. We're talking about an interaction, a supernatural engagement through that realm, through the membrane into the physical world. This is something that can be seen and proven and demonstrated, tested and retested. And yet, so many times when people talk about God, it immediately becomes this thing, well, if he was demonstrable, then he wouldn't be godlike. I mean, did I hear him right, Paul? Or maybe he said something else and I just misinterpreted that.
He did. I also feel like he wants to weirdly salvage just any definition that he can label God. I don't want to psychoanalyze, but I was hearing in there that his project was to find a definition of God that people could be okay with without actually having to change their views. And so if Seth and Paul, okay, God may not be real, but he's an abstract concept. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know.
I feel a little too, and I don't want to be a total jerk about this, but I feel like I appreciate the kind words. I really do appreciate the compliments. They may come from a sincere place, but I feel kind of buttered up. You know, we know you're a great thinker, Seth. I know me. I'm the guy that took 30 years to figure out that donkeys could not speak Hebrew, in the book of Numbers. I'm that guy, right? I used to think people lived to be 900 and that flying chariots could fly up into the sky, and that, I used to believe all kinds of crazy. I don't always think in a very, I'd like to think maybe I'm a little better, but I am not a great mind. I'm a guy just trying to figure it out. And I'm relatively good at stringing sentences together. That's my spiritual gift. But to sort of flatter me into saying I'm a great intellectual, well, that tells me right there you haven't been paying a lot of attention. I'm just some schlub trying to get along. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying. I'm just doing my best. I don't know. Anything else before I move on that?
No, let's get a new caller, new
I mean,
thoughts.
don't you feel like that? Why would the nature of God have to be immaterial? I mean, why could a God not exist? Omni-God, right? Omnipotent, omniscient, omnibenevolent. Why does that God not automatically not get a physical body and measurable, tangible characteristics? Why does it have to be something that exists out beyond the measurements of science? I don't get that. Do
And
you?
if he was as evident, if he was as evident as the sun, say, there's relatively little debate whether the sun exists. If God was constantly, in the sky or whatever, which of those attributes would it actually take away from him? Which of those attributes is harmed by being obviously evident? I can't. That doesn't change his all powerfulness, all knowingness, any all benevolent, whatever you want to say. Being omni evident seems like should be a great making property. I don't know.
No. And if you were an omnibenevolent deity, you would make a version of yourself. You would manifest in a way that
Right.
made you absolutely irrefutable to anybody who was looking for proof that you existed, who you were, what your nature was, and what you wanted from your minions, right? The fact that the Lord works in mysterious ways and that thousands of splintering denominations of just Christianity can't even agree on the basics of the faith tell me that there isn't an omnibenevolent deity out there. He's just letting everybody scramble and chew each other to pieces.